bertaraturatzeagatik. Reading Room erakusketa honen amaiera bezala, baitaren nahi genuen bertan parte hartu duten bi arkitekto gazteen bi hitzaldi izatera, kasu honetan Elma van Boxel gaurkoa eta bihar Donovan Millinena. Eta, justo bi hauek aukeratu ditugu, nolabait, azkenean erakusketa hau institutuan daukagu Herberetako enbaxadari esker. Eta, horregatik biak Herberatekoak dira, Amsterdam eta Rotterdamekoak. Muchas gracias por acercaros hoy aquí al Instituto de Arquitectura, a estas jornadas de cierre de la exposición de Reading Room, en las que contamos hoy con la charla de Elma van Boxel y mañana con la de Donovan Millinena, que de alguna forma dentro de las personas seleccionadas que aportan libros a esta exposición son ellas dos, porque ya que contamos con el apoyo de la embajada holandesa de los Países Bajos para la propia exposición en el instituto, después de haber pasado por Roma y Florencia, son dos arquitectas holandesas de Rotterdam y Ámsterdam. Pablo García Strain, de Gobierno Vasco, presentará también un poco las propias jornadas. Te dejo, Pablo.
Yeah, okay. No, it's fine.
Eskerrik asko, Martín. Ongi etorri.
Yeah, okay.
Eskerrik asko
Yeah, my
Arquitectura
Spanish is
Institutua
bad.
etorri izanagatik. Buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Gracias por acudir al Instituto de Arquitectura de Euskadi. Gracias al embajador Jan Bersen de los Países Bajos que nos acompaña hoy aquí. Da gusto ver también cómo en otros países apoyan a la joven arquitectura. Creo que es algo de lo que debemos de tomar buena nota. Creo que esta pequeña exposición o instalación, Reading Room, que ha sido el pretexto y que además ha sido una coincidencia feliz que haya coincidido con el ciclo de pasajes que de los jóvenes arquitectos vascos, pues al final hace que se haya generado una confluencia, un intercambio de prácticas emergentes en arquitectura a nivel europeo, y cosa que nos congratula, porque desde el Gobierno vasco una de las ideas que perseguíamos con la creación del Instituto de Arquitectura de Euskadi es precisamente fomentar la arquitectura vasca y en particular la joven arquitectura. Así que yo no me voy a extender mucho más. Jan, cuando quieras, gracias por estar aquí. Eskerrik asko.
I'll need my glasses though. Necesito mis gafas aquí porque... Arratsaldeon, buenas tardes, good evening. I'm happy we're in the reading room here because I usually don't like to speak from paper, but since there's so many people to say thank you to, and I don't want to get it wrong, and I also have to introduce other people, I think it's much safer to speak from paper today. And it's definitely an honor and a pleasure. Lo hacemos en inglés, ¿no? ¿O qué preferís? Sí, en inglés. It's an honor and a pleasure to be back in this beautiful city of San Sebastián, Donostia. In the first place, I would like to thank el Instituto de Arquitectura de Euskadi and its director, José Ángel Medina, who can't be here today, but maybe you will want to pass on our thanks to him. And to production coordinator Martín Echevarría for for opening their doors to host this event and for organizing an exclusive program for our architects and to open it also to our embassy. The second category is represented by Giampiero Venturini by himself on its own. He is the president of the Asociación Cultural New Generations, who was highly recommended to us by our colleagues at the Dutch Embassy in Rome after a series of successful collaborations, I understand. It was for them a great pleasure working with you, as it is now for us, and we really appreciate your efforts in promoting the representation of visibility of female young architects from the Netherlands. And last but not least, I would also like to thank the local authorities that accompany us today to show us the important cultural sites in the marvelous Basque Country. It is a great honor to have two Dutch architecture studios here represented tonight, although I'm not sure that Donna is already here. No, she's not here yet, but in those 2 days at any rate. First of all, represented by Elma van Boxel, there is Studio ZUS, short for Zones Urbaines Sensibles, represented by Elma, who will give a lecture tonight. The editorial project of Studio ZUS is called City of Permanent Temporarity, and it is an urban design manual available to the public in this reading room. It proposes a radical, and correct me if I'm wrong, it proposes a radical new form to make a city in which temporary interventions are linked to long-term views. This book describes the impressive process of 18 years of work in the Rotterdam laboratory of public spaces, among which the design of the Luchtsingel, an airwalk that connects the northern part of Rotterdam with the center of the city. This project was awarded the prestigious Urban Intervention Award in Berlin and the Rotterdam Architecture Award. I think I will also already say a couple of words about what will be on offer here tomorrow evening, and that is the presentation by Studio Donna van Milligem-Bielke, represented by Donna herself, who will give a lecture tomorrow about this time of day. The architect describes her work as shaping, connecting and reacting to urban tissues, and takes inspiration from classical buildings like the Forum Romanum. She was awarded this prestigious Prix de Rome, which is the oldest prize for young architects in the Netherlands. Her fictitious project for the remodeling of the city center of Rotterdam was unanimously chosen by the jury as the winner because of her radical and poetic proposal. A couple of years later, she also won another Dutch prize for young architects, the Rotterdam Maaskant Prize. And her publication In Between elaborates on the relevance of her most important urban projects and is available in the reading room as well. We are very proud of the two young and emerging architects that were selected to form part of this project, and it is an honor to support their work and ideas through this reading room. I would like to congratulate the organizers for this great initiative, designed to give a platform to some of the most innovative emerging architects in Europe and show the important role of architecture as a driver of social evolution. Eskerrik asko, muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Bueno, buenas tardes. Yo también hablo unas 4 palabras en español y luego paso al inglés. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por las palabras del embajador. Sí, la colaboración con la embajada pues lleva ya unos 4 o 5 años, también con la embajada de los Reino de los Países Bajos en Roma y con el responsable de la sección cultural en Roma, Bas Ernest, y este año he tenido el placer además de colaborar con Gemma Piquero con la parte, digamos, de la sección cultural de la embajada en Madrid. Bueno, yo soy italiano, como se puede notar de mi acento, pero llevo unos 10 años viviendo en Madrid y pues desarrollo proyectos culturales de varias naturaleza entre España, Italia y otros países como Holanda, donde estuve viviendo un par de años hace casi 10 años. So I'll switch to the English. A few words about, well, besides saying thank you for the support from the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, of course, but the Basque Institute of Architecture, which is basically hosting us in these days and hosted the reading room installation during the last couple of months, which will stay open a couple of weeks extra, I think. But yeah, basically, as I mentioned in my brief introduction in Spanish, in the last 10 years we dedicated ourselves to do research related with the architecture field through the project Itinerant Office and New Generations. New Generations is a European platform that started in 2011, 2012 more or less, with the idea of understanding how the new generation of emerging practices in Europe had to, try to kind of propose new ways of understanding and practicing the profession of the architect since the beginning of the financial crisis of 2008. Since then, through our cultural association, we developed a lot of cultural projects, programs of different formats, such as public programs like the one that we are actually curating these 2 days here, but also architecture festivals, exhibitions, publications, or small installations. In this case, the reading room installation, just to spend a couple of words about the project itself. What is the reading room? The reading room has been designed a year ago, more or less, in collaboration with the Royal Academy of Spain in Rome. At that time, we kind of, after 10 years research on emerging practices, we kind of found out that, of course, architects build a lot because they're architects, but on their end, they are also developing a lot of theory and research, which ends up in many times almost unpublished or independent books, which they do not really find a lot of exposure at the international level. So from that idea, we kind of invented a bit the term of anticipatory editorial practices, which we think are sort of, like many times happen in history of architecture, are those theories that are collected in books, but just a few years after they kind of are acknowledged by everybody. So the idea was here to collect all of this knowledge, all of this theory in an installation that could travel around Europe and then grow every time with new books. For instance, in Rome, we had about 100 books included in these 4 pieces of the installation. Then it moved to Milan and Florence. Other 30 books have been added. And here also in San Sebastian, I understood that there's also 3-4 books that have been included in the installation itself. The installation will then continue traveling in the next few months, and probably until the end of September we'll end up again in Rome for the 10th edition of the New Generation Festival that we will be organizing in Rome in a few months. So here after the event, if you want to spend some time in the installation, you will have the chance also to read some books. As the ambassador mentioned, I'm very, very happy that we have had the chance to develop this collaboration and have today and tomorrow 2 emerging female architects that will be presenting their work. It is with a great pleasure that I'm introducing now the first of the 2 guests, Elma van Boxel, which is a co-founder of Studio ZUS. I had prepared also a short presentation, but the ambassador already introduced main information about you, your prices, and your approach. So I would say, please give a warm welcome to Elma van Boxel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's such an honor and pleasure to be invited and to tell our story here today. And it's our first presentation after the COVID crisis, so it's also nice to see real people instead of screens. And so today I'm going to talk about the City of Permanent Temporarity, this book. It's also in the reading room, but before I will do that, I first will tell a bit about our office. In 2001, I started ZUS together with Christian Koreman. He's my partner, and from day one we had the same main interest that we're interested in from in projects from micro to micro scale, from really sensitive projects to projects that are related to climate change, and they all have in common that there are, or our main interest is in architecture in the public domain. And on the one hand, we do projects unsolicited, so it are just thoughts that we start on paper, and then if it becomes a project, then yeah, we try to make it a project. And on the other hand, we have projects in assignment. We do this now with a team of 35 people. Architect, urban planner, and landscape architect. When we started, we really wanted to be an interdisciplinary office. And to have projects where skill wasn't a given. And I will go through them here. These are maybe the two most, the opposites of each other. On the right, you see a public toilet we designed for the Venice Biennale, and on the left, this is a research that we do unsolicited by it's a research on climate change in the Netherlands, and it's called Delta X, a project about how we can still keep living in the Netherlands with the sea level rise and the sinking of the soil. In one of our first projects, was kind of was the Shanghai World Expo Central Park. And also there we had two different scales of projects. We had the big park, but we also had in the Dutch pavilion the furniture design of the ships. On the beach in the Netherlands, this is also quite an old project of 2001, we made a pavilion which shows the behavior of the sea during the last 2,000 years, so it's a quite long sequence where you see that there's always this fluctuation of high rise level, of high rise sea level, and almost it was also a time that we could walk to England. We also love to work for cultural institutes and make exhibitions or create exhibitions. This is one of them called My Public Space. It was for the Dutch Architecture Institute. We are realizing in the Netherlands an urban project for 3,000 housing called Dune, in which we made the landscape kind of the landscape itself carries the whole plan. In New York, we were invited to work on the new, it was called the New Meadowlands. It was the post-Sandy competition, and we designed together, in a way, all our projects we're working together. So it's not that this is what I'm doing on my own. In the Netherlands, we work on infrastructural projects, but also this is a pop stage that we design on. This is a sea lock that was just opened in the Netherlands. And this is an installation again in the public space of Den Haag, where we were testing the public domain together with Today's Art, an art festival. I put this in because you posted it and I thought it's nice. This is kind of an unsolicited project as well. We gave the new institute a new entrance. This I put in because I know that Mayala would be there, and she has been working on this competition for us, and this is what we will start realizing this year at the central square of Eindhoven, Station Square. Now I will go a bit through and go to the book itself. This is something that we are really excited because this is the renovation of the public library in Rotterdam, and public libraries are maybe the most important places of a city nowadays, where everybody is welcome. We're in a competition with 4 others, so we really hope that our team will be the ones who can start working on this, because this is kind of a dream assignment. And this is a project which is just opened. We were asked by the Floriade to design the public space of the Floriade, so all the squares and the streets, and we also are working on the future housing of the Floriade. And this is an exhibition, public space exposition, where you can now go to in the Netherlands if you're there, so please come. And this is one of our favorite projects. It's called the Testsite Rotterdam, the Luchtsingel and the Schieblock. So in 2001, Christian and I started living here and started our company in the Schieblock. And that's where this book is about. It started on day one that we lived there. So the area needs some explanation. So in 2001, this was a building not in use, an empty building, and we were asked to kind of anti-squat it. It's in the middle of the city center. Here you have the central station, or they were building the central station, and here's the inner city of Rotterdam. So it's in a way on one of the main locations of the city. It's important for the story. Our book is built up on 4 chapters. Chapter 1 is a bit about where the reading room is about. That was it's a journal from 2000 to 2008 where we kind of made paper thoughts. We had a lot of ideas, but we put them on paper. In Act 2, we came to action and started realizing projects. Chapter 3, it's maybe the most sad part of the book. It's the fall. And chapter 4 is the future. And we asked Wouter van Stiphout and Michelle Provoost, Rory Hyde and René Boer to write 3 essays about their reflection on what happened on the test site. And in a way, this book is also, I will not talk about it, but all the projects that are realized, which are something like 46, are here with all the people that we worked on it together, because this was kind of a collaboration with, a lot of people. But now I will go through the different chapters of the story. So the paper period, this is how we, when we start living in this building here. This was also the image of the street, and now we wanted to know more about the history of this place, and the history of the place was, just in the 19th century, this place was the most living, energetic, cultural place of Rotterdam, where Neil Armstrong was singing and making music, and where the life was really on the street. You can wonder what happened. Now we had similar as San Sebastian, I heard yesterday in the CAP, but then a little bit later in the 1945 we had a Second World War and we were bombed. Next to the rail track, everything in the inner city was gone. The interesting thing is that the city already had an urban plan before the bombing, laying there van Tra, where they wanted to have the big boulevards in the street. They were really impressed by the American cities, and they also would like to have this kind of modernistic part. This is the first high-rise, and here you see that they started building the building where we are. But now in 2001, we are now in 2001, most of those office spaces on the Wena were vacant. So that's also what you see reflecting on the street. Because if there are nobody inside, then there are not a lot of people outside in the public space. At the same time, this was the plan of the area, 240,000 square meters of office space. on the yeah, we wondered why do you need so much office space if there's in a way so much vacancy, and this was before 2008 when the crisis was hitting. We started searching in the plans of the municipality what kind of was going on and what their ambitions were to start to kind of understand this the place. And this was one of the schemes that we found really interesting. It was just some volumes with colors, and they called it the mix zone. And they kind of described that they wanted to have this liveliness, and that this mix zone is kind of also has to do with local economy, low rent and high rent global companies, combining them together and let them meet in certain places. And now we started talking with the municipality and with the owner of the area itself, and said, like, why don't you use the existing fabric which is there to already start testing this, because you can already start renting out this space, because we were there in this building with 4 other people, so kind of there was a lot of space, and they didn't want to hear anything about it, and then we don't know who, but somebody called the newspaper, and they had this interview with us, and we were, because we kind of thought that we had this really nicely interview, but they had this really one-liner on top, and the same day the alderman called us, like, can you guys maybe please come over, because this is, I don't want to have this kind of news, but it was good, because he said, like, okay, let's prove your thoughts about how you can make this mix zone work in the Schieblock. Because this was behind it. We said to them, like, if you already, there are 2 ways of making city. The one is the above one is a bit like how we did it in Rotterdam. We turn a place down and we build something new, but you also could start using the existing and start building from it and densify. And then we made this image, what we thought was what their ambition was. So you have this local economy with street life on top, and then this global economy, these multinationals can be on top, and they can be wherever. And so this was, and then the alderman and the owner of the building, they kind of asked us, like, okay, if you you can put it on paper and you speak about it, then please show us that it can exist. So we came in action with their approval, and now this was how the building was there, and with one small, with only a little bit of effort and a little bit of paint and help of friends, we opened up the dependance. It was a place where we were inviting different cultural institutions which were or having a renovation, or they needed space, or they needed exhibition space. They could come and program here. And yeah, that was the first change. And we also wanted to have more, we wanted to develop the Schieblock. So we started making images to invite or to make other people enthusiastic to start renting a place at our side. And we start to have space dates where we were acting like real developers. So we were giving everybody champagne and have these beautiful flowers, and then showed them the space, but the space was like what you saw before. And then in a way, in 1 week or 1 or 2 weeks, we had the whole list of renters who wanted to do this kind of joint venture together. And we made this model, and then the alderman and the owner helped us doing the opening, so we were always celebrating it together. And since till today, this is still, it's I think 95% of all the spaces are rented out, so we have kind of a really and it's a really nice environment to work, or I love it every day. And we're doing this together with all the renters. So this is one of the renters who did the whole graphic design, others doing other things, but we're doing it together. And then at this time also the dependance became too small. So as ZUS we started to rent a bigger space in the Schieblock to have bigger events and exhibitions and also more parties. To have this liveliness on the street again. And here you and then one of the other projects what we started was the Fabriek Urbaine. We asked a friend of us if he wanted to start running this fabric and make some public furniture for us, just great furniture. And by making that, we also started inviting people, or we didn't do anything, but there were kind of drinks on the street, and people start using the space. And this is so we had developed the Schieblock, but we kind of also wanted to do more. So we started to look around, and what you saw here is that in a way, because of this this modernist plan and the boulevards, all the parts of the city here are really separated by infrastructure. This is the scheme of the municipality where they show how they want to have the flows towards the city in the future. And we always saw that they wanted to have this flow here, but yeah, there's nothing happening here. But we use this scheme. And another thing that they always wanted to prove with this scheme is that this one needed to be turned down, because people like to move in a straight line. That was also funny. And we said, like, oh, you can also move this with this red line in in other ways. And we started to imagine a bridge or a public structure over the road, so that we have this kind of green structure towards the inner city, but also towards the Maas. And then the International Architecture Biennale came around, where they asked us, like, we see that you guys are trying out a lot here in this area, and can we give you the platform of the ERBR to expand this? And now we were extremely happy with that, because that was the stage where we could really connect to other companies, but also other institutes which could help us out to make this project become bigger. This is kind of the scheme of all the big institutes who start helping us out. And we made this idea that we wanted to make the final master plan of the area, but start testing it already today with one-to-one models. And then see what really works and what's not working. So we were testing what's working, we'll adapt, and if it's not working, we will just continue doing something else. In the beginning, we made 16 different projects. All the projects have their own economical strategy, so that they were independent from each other. And one of them was the Luchtsingel. And we came up with the idea to do this with crowdfunding, and see if we could make this bridge with the citizens of Rotterdam. Now, at the same time as we did this, the government of Rotterdam came with the city initiative, and they asked us if we wanted to join their initiative with this idea. So that we had this crowdfunding idea together with them in the city initiative to start building it. And then the alderman herself started buying the first plank, and then, in a way, the Luchtsingel started. Because we had this crowdfunding, we didn't have all the budget in one, so we also were building it part by part. We started, I think, in 2012 with the first part, and so the first part was built in 2012, and at the same time we started to connect the central station with the bridge. We asked the developer of the owner of this building if we could make a gap in his building, and if we could use partly of his demolition money to do that. And he said, like, yeah, why not? So we make this passage. The idea always was that it already would have been turned out, which so it's a small change, but it was to prove that it is nice to keep this fabric and to use it and to make already roots through it, and see if there's or try to convince the others that there's value in this post-war fabric. We had a lot of excursions with different groups, with different, but mostly also with the government, to convince them to continue working on it. But I think the thing that we really liked the most is that we did it with a lot of other people, and that everybody puts their own. If you help crowdfunding, you can put your name on it. So you have all different kind of names. So the people that just met, they have kind of their love plank, but also the football team is on it. And this is kind of this whole first phase of the Architectural Biennale, where we also started up the beer garden. Christian and I kind of did this course to be also to have your own horeca company. And then we found other people initially to run it. And also this back spot of this location became kind of a front spot. Nowadays it's one of the, it's always crowded, or not in the Corona period. And also one of the other ideas or action plans was, this was also written in all the plans of the municipality, that I think it's almost everywhere now, to have green roof, or the ambition to have green roofs for to make the city, of course, more climate proof. And we try to do that with the schiblock without changing its structure, because that's in a way the most difficult part, that the roof is not constructed on having this heavy roof on top. So we had found out, or we kind of managed to have a substrate which is light enough to be on top, and in a way all the pods are on the column structures. And then the Rotterdam's Milieucentrum is running this together with 25 volunteers who every weekend are helping out to have this nice green roof. And they're producing for the local restaurants which are around the corner. They also have bees on the top. And at the same time we kept building this bridge bit by bit. And we also tried to celebrate every part that we're building, and inviting all the crowdfunders again that helped us out doing this. And then the Lusingle was there, connecting the schiblock side with the Hofbogen. This was the part of the station which was kept after the bombing, and which will become, or partly is already there, as a public park. So this is the roof of the Hofbogen, also which the budget of the Stadsinitiatief, we made it a public park again. And also here we were working with the Vredestein. It's they're also farmers which give all their vegetables away to people that cannot pay it at that moment. We started to making events to get liveliness in the people and to get ownership of this public space, because that was maybe that I showed that in the beginning. That was really what we were missing. That there was no ownership at all. And it became also, when we were living there and working there, we were always amazed by the skyline and the light which is there, and now it was kind of really possible for a lot of people to also enjoy that here. Which we kind of started it with this strategy behind it. So we kind of looked through all the documents of the municipality, and we tried to group them in 5 categories, like routing, making place, transformation, densification, and local economy, that were their own topics. And under that we started to develop the different projects, and here it are, say 20, and in the end it became 46. It's still not finished. But when the bridge was finished, we realized that the parks and the roof, we discussed how we would do the maintenance, and then we had to talk with a different group of the municipality, and they wanted to do it themselves, and then we had to take some distance. That was the same time, or this was for us the most hard time, because we were kind of sitting. We saw that the bridge was getting a lot of attention in the newspapers. It was also getting a lot of attention, and wacht hoor. It stops. No. Oh yeah, here. Also on Instagram it was kind of running, but here you also see what the problem became, that there was no maintenance of the bridge. So we kind of went through quite a tense period with the municipality, but now they are working on it to maintain it and to use it. There's kind of already densification, of course, coming around. We always knew that that would come. So this is kind of interesting that the Starbucks is one of the first who start being hit, where you can already say, oh, then the gentrification hits. And this is also, on this point, we started to act again. So we were kind of being on the backside for a bit, and then the whole problem of gentrification is, of course, that the low rents go out, and we started to make a plan where the low rents could stay in, and that we have the high rents also could come, but that it's kind of possible to stay. And in between it became this strange journey, because on the back we were just making the project going on, but on in the real project, the kind of urban project, there was this the developer, hoe noem je dat, vastgoed he didn't pay the municipality back again, so there was kind of this 60 million guilt on the plot, and then there was a lot of tension and nothing happened anymore. So that's always in our back. That's also a little bit the drama of this place, is that it doesn't go in any direction, because there are people on the background who are owning it or are fighting together on this location. And in between there are also new plans presented in this space. And then at that moment we thought maybe it's a good idea to start talking with the local politicians and really have discussions with all of them, so all the different parties. So this was 4 years ago, just before the elections. We invited all the different parties in Rotterdam in the incomplete and unfinished gallery, which we made for them. And in there we had this, you already see it, we made this kind of studio where we had models, but also this the panorama of images around us, where we had talks with them and tried to show them what was happening here, but also to try to convince them of the possibilities for the city. Now this was maybe the hardest talk. But in the end, in the beginning, we didn't talk the same language at all. And in the end, he was convinced that it would be a good thing to try to keep the uses of the location in the new plans and to see how that could be working out. And we also tried to help them out to make this new, this urban plan for the future. So nobody asked us to make the model of the area, but we made a huge model where everybody could really relate to and see how things could come together. It was kind of our final act. We thought, like, this is, if we try this, and if this isn't working, we can start doing other projects, knowing that we tried to do everything we could. And it was really nice because it started the discussion, and in the end, the municipality asked us if we would like to buy the Schieblock and start developing it for the future. We don't have the contract yet, but the thought is still there that we would start doing that. And that's this part. So we, together with the municipality, we start drawing the new plan in how, in a way, all the different companies that have been here or started here, and all the clubs, that they could stay here and be there together. And what we did is also have all these ambitions, which we kind of started, but which were initiated by the municipality. For instance, the roof landscape back in the project, but also the city promenade, and that's also what we in the end together with the municipality, kind of get. Everybody decided that this is a good thing to keep the post-war fabric in the area, and to see how we could program it in the future. And together with them, we also made this kind of schemes in how you can work from startups to bigger companies, and to have one Excel where this is possible. So in a way, this project is not a lot of architecture; it's more process and getting people along. And also to constantly connect everybody to each other. And this is in the end the last urban scheme which is there now, and in which we are then will start developing this part, not the big towers, to keep this little micro climate here. But also with all the clubs which are there, and to kind of this project is of course never finished. And what we started to do is, together with Crimson, is we founded a school, the independent school for the city. It's just an open platform where we give different courses, and in which we try to give a platform for non-asked project. And the Crimson is doing the daily running of it, and it's a really nice place to, it's kind of a place like this where there are exhibitions, where there is and a lot of lectures, but also the classes on or climate change, criminality, and city planning. And that's a bit where the book ends. It's a really personal journey, a journey of Christian and me, together with our whole team, but also together with I think 1,000 people who helped us out. We tried to give everybody a place in this book, but also to give an insight of now all the things which were there on the background, because not always. Everybody was happy with us, so that it was a funny, interesting roller coaster to do. But it's also, if I don't know who visited it, you've been there, and Mayale, you have been there. It is nice to see that it's now really owned by the users of the space, and it's also 21 years later. It's still incomplete, unfinished, and that's also that you see that cities are really slow, and that's I think the biggest message that we want to keep, so that the software is as important as the hardware of the city. So thanks for your
that all that kind of infrastructures are always done and designed and planned by the administration, no? So was it easy for you when you went, I mean, the crowdfunding is one of the part of the project, but was it easy the part of trying to convince to the, I don't know, the city hall, or I don't know who was the people who, the administration that was in charge of this part, no? But was it easy to try to say, okay, the city needs, or this space needs that bridge, or, I mean, how was that process?
Yeah, it was, in the end I would say it was easy, but when we were in it, it wasn't such an easy thing. But what we did when we were running the Architectural Biennale as curators, we started to make this kind of project teams where the municipality was part of. So we, in one hand, we developed the idea together with them. In this location, the property ownership was with at different developers, so we needed them all to get along and to sign contracts. And in the end, the municipality was owner of the bigger contract, and we, together with them, or there was this decision that if we would build them, they will start. They were the owners, so we put that on paper, and yeah, it took a lot of talks to go there. But in the end, we didn't really need it to convince them, because they put the thoughts in their own vision plan. So we, this line with the confetti, we used always as this is what you guys also want. So it's not something that we give you a bridge and you don't know what to do with it, but. Yeah, so we took them on the journey, and it was, yeah, I think it took us 4 years to get everything on paper, but it was a long road.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A question I have, since I also finished my PhD a year and a half ago about public participation and placemaking, etc. Kind of curious to know, after almost 10 years, more than 10 years process, basically since the beginning of the ski block towards the realization of the look single. I don't remember how many years basically the process took, but about 15 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, and I understand that it's a process where you have to be there. You have to kind of take also kind of improvise a bit, take decision on sites, depending by many aspects. I was wondering if, do you see this approach as an approach, a scalable approach that you can also apply to different other contexts? So city could be built really like this in a place in which architects are not necessarily involved in first hand, on the one hand.
Mm-hmm.
And if you apply these concepts to other projects that you are realizing in other contexts. And this is, I think, the main question. The other is just a curiosity. Since you mentioned that you are about 35 people in the office, I was wondering, I also believe that for this kind of projects, you really need to have an expertise from other fields involved, not only architects. I see that there's a lot of connection with, you know, sociologists or geographer or kind of related to these themes. I was wondering if in the office you were also with these. You have in your office people that are not necessarily architects or designers, or you have in it also other experts.
Yeah, no, yeah, we don't have the other experts in our office, but of course we know how to find them. So we work with a lot of different companies to get the right expertise on it. But to run a company which is also financial healthy, it's good to kind of specialize a bit in the field of architecture, urban planning and landscape. And to give answer on the other question, we never started this project with the thought that it needed to be copied on other places. To be honest, I think it's so the location and time specific that it's it's not easy to copy. But of course, a lot of strategies that we used or that we found out or what other people gave us are easy to use if you you want to work on participation or to get this kind of interaction with the users. But it's I wouldn't say that infrastructure by crowdfunding would be the future. No.
Okay, thank you. Any other question maybe from the audience? Are you now working also, are you working mainly in the Netherlands and US, you mentioned? No.
Now the last 2 years, of course, the project really came back to the Netherlands. At this moment, we're mainly working in the Netherlands, and we do a few projects abroad. Yeah.
Maybe I have one last question because I kind of particularly if there's no other question, I'll do another one. I'm interested in the research that you did also. I mean, also a kind of pragmatic question about the book itself.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you, at the end, put all of this expertise in the book itself? How the kind of processes also relates your practice with the editorial practice in a way?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first reason, why did you want to have all of this research process in a book? Because that also relates a bit with the previous question. It's not, can we see as a sort of a toolbox or a manual, or it was more sort of a self, a process to also better understand?
We put it on paper to open up the information and the knowledge that we gain during the process and to share it with others. So that was our main reason, but also to give a thank to all the people that we were working with. And also now we have been working on this project for 20 years. And because with the bridge it's also a temporary bridge before it's gone. We wanted to kind of give it a future in a book. So we started with paper and we probably end with paper. That's what why we put it on paper.
Did you mention during the presentation that the bridge is temporary, so it will be demolished at a certain point? That's the plan, or?
That's how we always kind of discuss this. But now we are discussing together with the owners of the property, the land underneath the bridge that are making their future plans. They want to keep it, so we're now researching and how we can give it new life afterwards. So it will stay.
Because in terms of design, you design it as something temporal in a way, so also in terms of the structure, etc.
Yeah, parts of it. So there are difficult parts in the bridge where we have the connection with the railway. So there we use steel, and with the thought that if they would kind of come up with a new bridge, that they can use the fundaments of it, because we had this. We also worked together with the NS, and I think we were lucky that they had this moment, because they were building the central station, that they would close off the tracks for one whole night. So we had one whole night to place the bridge, and that's in a way not happening a lot. So in that place it's steel, and the other part, so the whole construction underneath, it has a better quality than the planks on top. They are really there for 15 years, and the rest is having a lifespan of 50 years. So we already kind of thought about that it would stay longer. That's also, permanent temporality.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
¿Nadie más tiene una pregunta o no? Nada, ¿no? Vale. Bueno, pues, so, thanks so much.
Yeah.
So, I think it's fine, ¿no? Yes, just to know that tomorrow, mañana es la charla de Donovan Milligan, que ha llegado un poco más tarde, o no sé si ha llegado ya, no sé. Bueno, a la misma hora es la de la otra arquitecta holandesa que recibimos a las 6:30, entonces bueno, así os esperamos aquí. Muchas gracias.